I did my internship at Lighthouse Montessori, and their main saying is where children learn to love learning. And I think that's so true because they do so many interesting different works with the children that they do learn to love the learning, and they have progressed very fast and are moving on at a super fast rate. So, how I found my internship, I first went and talked to Brother McCoy about my internship to kind of figure out what I needed to do. And he gave me a list of papers and asked me where I really wanted to do my internship. And I told him Idaho Falls and that I'd like to do somewhere close. And so he told me about Lighthouse Montessori. And so I arranged to do it there. And I first talked to Leah, who is their office coordinator, and asked her some of the things that I needed to get done so that I could apply there and do my internship there. And she told me I needed to send in a resume and to their email, and then she'd call me back and set up a time that I could meet with Miss Roth, who is the director of the school. And so I sent my resume in, and she called me back like 5 minutes later, and she said, Miss Roth loved your resume and she wants to meet with you. How does Friday sound? And so Friday I drove up to Idaho Falls, and I had an interview with Miss Roth. And I was accepted right after that to do my internship there, and it started the first week of September. Some of my responsibilities at Lighthouse started at 8:15. I had to be there every day, 5 days a week, and I would start in the locker room, making sure the children put all their items away, weren't slamming lockers, weren't rough playing. And I really loved that time because I got to talk to the children and learn a little bit more about them. And I also got to talk to the parents. And the parents play a big role in their school by helping run the school by doing different fundraisers to helping in the classroom. And I just loved getting to know the parents and letting them feel comfortable with me so that I could teach their children. And I also learned a lot through the parents. So after that, so from about 8:30 to 9 would be line time, and they would learn a new work and sing songs and work on calendars. It was also a time where that they had about 5 minutes that they could share stories, and also they sang a song and it was called Good Morning, and it was a song that I learned to fall in love with because we sang it every day. And after that, the teacher would go around and shake hands with the children and say good morning to that child, and then the child would say good morning back to her, and they were just teaching basic manners there. They are big on grace and courtesy, and I learned to love that because I have never met such polite children in my life. So about after that, so from 9 until 11, they would go straight to their works, and they would work on it until 11, and they would have their snack during their work time, and their snack would be self-serve, and then they would learn to wash the dishes by themselves and dry it and set the table for the next child that was ready for snack. And it's just teaching them life skills that they're going to use throughout their life. Works was something I had to get used to because it was something I had never seen before in my life, and it was things that they did use throughout their life, but also that helped them learn and grow, such as sounds. They did sounds, they did sandpaper letters where they were learning to write. They were doing basic math problems, and they also got to do a lot of art and learn about a lot of the different artists during Maria Montessori's time. So from 11:05 to 11:55 they had outdoor play, and I was in charge of making sure they didn't climb on any of the toys the wrong way. They were touching the walls when they passed the swings so they wouldn't be hit. Making sure they weren't throwing sand, the basic teacher role while they were outside. It was also really fun to hear them tell jokes the whole time while they were outside. They're at that age where they think they're the funniest thing, and they'd come up to me and be, Miss Summers, I have a new joke for you. And so I got to learn a lot of jokes. I'm still not very good at telling jokes, they tell me, but that was one of my favorite times is when they could tell me jokes. So I had a lot of fun with outdoor time. From 12 to 1:15, I was in charge of helping in the lunchroom. So children would come in from 12 to 12:30 and eat their lunch. And it was a time that you got to see the children interact with their peers again, and just enjoy their lunch and tell stories. I loved helping in the lunchroom just because I got to talk to the children as well, and they would tell me about their day and what they've been working on. I also loved it because I was able to talk to some of the other teachers and learn um, why they decided to send their children to Lighthouse and some of the benefits that they had, and also why they're doing their training in Lighthouse Montessori, or even what they became interested in at Lighthouse, so I could learn a little bit more about it. My Some of the benefits at Lighthouse were that I was I became licensed in Idaho Falls and got fingerprinted so that I could be a substitute for them when they were shorthanded during the summer. I was willing to step up to whatever tasks were asked of me, or if they needed a volunteer to clean out rooms. I cleaned out the teacher workroom during the summer right before my internship started because it needed it and it needed organized, so that was one of my tasks. Just volunteered for so they knew that I was a hard worker. Help organize files. I was always willing to step in when they needed it in other classrooms, such as the toddler class or helping with elementary recess. I always went with a positive attitude and made children feel loved and made sure that they were comfortable with me so that they could have someone to talk to. The personal benefits that I gained by choosing to do my internship at Lighthouse Montessori, I benefited by learning many new skills, such as working in a small and large groups of children. Mainly small groups because I got used to working in large groups. I learned how to teach them some of the different works. I also learned a lot about how I needed to ask questions so I wouldn't be in the dark. I always had a hard time asking questions. I just didn't want to annoy the teachers, but I learned that they loved me asking questions just as much as I loved getting their answers back and learning more about the school. So asking questions was a big one. I learned how to work with a variety of different teachers and how many different methods there are to teaching at Montessori. They all take a different piece of Montessori and they weave it into their learnings and to the learning style, and I just really learned to love that, and I learned a lot through that. I learned about all the works they use to help the children gain those concepts, such as scooping apples or spooning apples as they call it, sweeping sandpaper letters so that the children, could learn how to read and learn the sounds of those letters. And that's just a couple of them. The connections that I learned was that I noticed that children do work in small groups and they learn the new concept, and then once they've got that down, they're able by themselves until they mastered it. And some of the children would watch other children work on a work and learn from them. And so it was really children teaching children as well as like a teacher there to help only if they needed it. I thought it was interesting to see the different teaching methods, but loved how they worked with children one-on-one or even making sure they had enough teachers in a classroom, which is so important to have enough teacher to student ratio. And I know that at BYU Idaho we really try that in the labs, is to have enough teacher to student ratio so that if children ever need anything, there's a teacher there to help them. And I feel that's really important. One other thing I also loved is we read about the importance of always being on the child's level. And at Lighthouse Montessori, Maria Montessori was the first woman to come up with child-sized furniture. And that is how it is at Lighthouse Montessori. Everything is child-sized so that they can reach it. And I just love getting down on their level. They have you kneel next to the child, and the child can lean over and you are eye to eye with them, and they can talk to you and you can talk to them, and they don't feel like the teacher's overpowering them. And I feel that's so important, and that's one thing that when I was up at BYUI they made sure they pushed, is being down on the child's level, and I just know that's very important. My recommendations: I would recommend Lighthouse Montessori to other students who are looking for an internship. They're willing to work with your schedule, they're willing to teach you so many things. I also really love how they want you to ask questions so you don't sit in the dark. You need to be willing to learn something new. That's a big thing that Miss Roth told me, that you have to be willing to learn something new so that she can teach you. And You have to have an open mind because it is a lot different teaching style than at BYU Idaho. Some things may connect and some things are totally different, but I know that I learned so many different things that I want to take with me. And some things I may not be so interested in, but I'm so grateful that I learned them because they have helped mold me to become a better teacher. Um, so if you are interested, you should contact Leah at Lighthouse Montessori in Idaho Falls, or even talk to Brother McCoy. He has a lot of their information. Um, when you do contact Leah, she'll ask you to send her a resume, and then you have to come in for an interview with Miss Roth, the director of Lighthouse. I was so grateful I had this opportunity to work at Lighthouse. I have learned so many things, and I'm grateful for it.